What would you do if your plane started its final descent and the runway wasn't there? Or if you had to land with a train crossing your path? Believe it or not, there are actual airports where these nightmare scenarios are just another day at the office. In today's video, we're going to uncover the top 10 most dangerous airport runways in the world. By the end, you'll think twice before booking your next flight. Let's start things off with a runway that's missing when the tide comes in. Yup, Barra Airport in Scotland is the only airport in the world where planes land directly on a tidal beach. The runway is basically Mother Nature's idea of a practical joke. It's only usable when the tide is out. The 3 runways are marked by wooden poles, which get submerged at high tide. This means pilots, passengers, and flight schedules are all at the mercy of the ocean's mood. At night, emergency landings are guided by, get this, car headlights and reflective markers. But wait, it gets better. Sudden gusts of wind, torrential downpours, and stormy seas play a role there, often forcing planes to abort landings or return to Glasgow. There have been reports of planes making multiple attempts before successfully landing due to severe crosswinds and rain, which make the wet sand even trickier to control. Next, let's hop over to New Zealand, where Gisborne Airport decided to turn the runway into a multi-use area for planes and trains. Yes, planes and trains play the ultimate game of who gets there first. The Palmerston North Gisborne Railway intersects the tarmac, meaning air traffic controllers and train operators must synchronize their schedules to the second. Forget delays at baggage claim. Imagine being stuck because a train needs to pass before your plane can land. The sight of vintage locomotives casually rolling across the runway adds an oddly surreal vibe. Tourists love it, but for pilots, it's less charming and more nerve-wracking. Thankfully, no major incidents have occurred. Yet. A fun fact here, Gisborne Airport isn't just about quirky engineering. It also boasts stunning coastal views, making it a hit with aviation enthusiasts. Just don't be surprised if your pilot mentions waiting for a train before touchdown. Okay, things are about to get steep, literally. Courchevel Altiport in the French Alps is a ski resort runway, and it's as extreme as the slopes around it. The runway is just 525 meters long. That's about 5 football fields, with an 18.5-degree incline. It's like landing on a ski slope, except you're flying in an airplane, not a sled. The incline is actually an advantage, helping slow planes on landing and speed them up during takeoff. But there's no go-around option. If you miss your approach, you're out of luck. Or worse, off a cliff. Altitude complicates things further. At 2,000 meters above sea level, the thin air reduces engine performance and makes braking more challenging. Only pilots with specialized certification are allowed to land here. In 2019, a small private jet overshot this runway during a snowy landing, crashing into a snowbank and catching fire. Thankfully, there were no fatalities, but it just shows how unforgiving this runway can be. Now, if you thought trains on a runway were strange, wait until you see Gibraltar International Airport in the UK. Here, a busy 4-lane road, Winston Churchill Avenue, cuts straight across the runway. Yes, this is where planes and cars share space. When a plane needs to land, traffic lights stop vehicles like it's a railway crossing. The road clears, barriers go up, and a massive airliner descends onto the tarmac, sometimes while battling Gibraltar's infamous crosswinds. These gusts, coming off the Strait of Gibraltar, can slam into planes with incredible force, making every landing an event worth watching. Despite the chaos, Gibraltar handles around 500,000 passengers annually. The airport is so close to the city center that you could theoretically walk to your hotel after landing, if you're okay with dodging wind and potential traffic jams. In 2017, a British Airways flight aborted its landing twice as powerful gusts pushed the aircraft dangerously off its intended path. The captain eventually diverted to Malaga, with passengers describing the aborted approaches as heart-stopping. Heading south, we find Madeira Airport, located on the Portuguese island of the same name. Madeira's runway sits between jagged mountains and the Atlantic Ocean. Crosswinds here are so severe, they've earned the airport a reputation as one of Europe's most challenging. Pilots have to undergo special training just to attempt a landing, and even then, unexpected gusts can turn a smooth approach into a stomach-churning adventure. Madeira's windy reputation was cemented in 1977, when TAP Portugal Flight 425 overshot the runway while attempting to land in adverse weather. The Boeing 727 failed to stop in time, plunging into the ocean, resulting in 131 fatalities. In 2000, engineers extended the runway over the ocean, using 180 concrete pillars, each 50 meters tall. While this improved safety for larger planes, the thrill factor remains. Next, we're heading to the Caribbean, home to the shortest commercial runway in the world. At just 400 meters, less than a quarter mile, Juancho E. Euroscan Airport is basically a postage stamp with cliffs on either side and the ocean waiting to catch any mistakes. Overshoot the runway? You're swimming with the fish. Undershoot? Enjoy the cliff. It's no wonder only small aircraft like the Twin Otter and BN-2 Islander are allowed to land here. Even the runway markings have a message. The large white X, painted on both ends, signals that this strip is off-limits to large commercial aircraft. Despite the risks, this tiny airport is a lifeline for the island's 2,000 residents, proving that even the scariest runways can be lifelines. Moving on, if you've ever seen a viral video of planes skimming over a crowded beach, chances are it was filmed at Princess Juliana International Airport. Located in St. Martin, this airport's final approach takes aircraft just 50 feet over Maho Beach. That's so low, you can feel the jet blast and hear the roar of engines as planes swoop in for landing. Apart from all the Instagram-worthy fun, the 2,300-meter runway is barely long enough to handle larger jets, like the Boeing 747. Add unpredictable crosswinds from the Atlantic, and landing here becomes a white-knuckle affair for pilots. In 2017, the famous KLM 747 flights were discontinued, partially due to safety concerns. However, the danger isn't just for those in the air. Tragically, in 2017, a tourist standing too close to the blast zone was killed when the jet engines threw her backward. It's a sobering reminder that the thrill comes with real risks. Still, Princess Juliana remains kind of a bucket list destination for aviation enthusiasts. Just remember to hang on to your hat. And maybe your sunglasses too. Next, deep in Greenland's icy wilderness lies Narsarsuaq Airport, a remote airstrip surrounded by glaciers and fjords. Approaching this runway requires a 90-degree turn into a fjord, with towering mountains on either side. But that's just the appetizer. Arctic winds here can reach speeds of up to 50 knots, enough to jolt even the steadiest aircraft. Visibility can drop in an instant thanks to snow squalls, leaving pilots with no choice but to rely on instruments to make it through. And as if that wasn't enough drama, there's an active volcano nearby. Lukla, the volcano, occasionally spews ash clouds that can shut down air travel entirely. Ash particles are a nightmare for jet engines, causing malfunctions and damaging turbines. In 2012, a medical evacuation flight encountered severe turbulence and visibility issues during its approach, requiring the pilot to navigate the fjords blindly with instruments. Thankfully, the plane landed safely. Okay, ready for some cold, hard facts? McMurdo Station in Antarctica has a runway made entirely of ice. If that doesn't sound precarious enough, let me add this. The temperature often plummets to -40 centigrade, or lower, making everything from the plane's hydraulics to the pilot's nerves freeze. Unlike other runways, this one shifts over time due to ice movement. It's also blindingly white, making depth perception almost impossible during a whiteout. Pilots rely heavily on specialized GPS systems to land. The surface is so slippery that stopping a plane is like skating on an Olympic ring, only with jet engines. The risks are astronomical, but McMurdo is a lifeline for Antarctica's research community. Cargo planes like the LC-130 Hercules bring in supplies, scientists, and equipment, operating under strict weather windows. And once a plane lands, it better not linger too long. Ice cracks and sudden storms can trap it. Pilots flying into McMurdo undergo some of the world's most rigorous cold weather training. One wrong move on the ice? You're part of a rescue mission, not a scheduled flight. Okay, finally, we arrive at number 1. Tenzing Hillary Airport in Lukla, Nepal, often dubbed the most dangerous airport in the world. This tiny runway, perched at 2,800 meters above sea level, is the gateway to Mount Everest. It's also a place where even experienced pilots take a deep breath before landing. The runway itself is just 527 meters long, shorter than a cruise ship, and has a 12% gradient. The incline helps slow planes during landing and gives them a boost during takeoff, but one end of the runway ends in a stone wall, and the other? Well, it's a sheer drop into the valley below. Unfortunately, the risks are not just theoretical. Lukla has a tragic history of accidents, with over 50 recorded incidents since it opened. The most recent, in 2019, involved a collision that killed 3 people. Yet, for trekkers heading to Mount Everest, it's the first step in their adventure. Before we wrap up, we have a bonus segment about Paro Airport in Bhutan. This is a runway that even the most experienced pilots find daunting. Nestled at an altitude of 7,364 feet in the Himalayan peaks, Paro's approach is so challenging that only about 24 pilots worldwide are certified to land here. Weather conditions make things even trickier. Flights are restricted to daylight hours, as the lack of radar makes night landings impossible. Strong winds and frequent monsoons between June and August add turbulence to an already heart-pounding descent. So, if you're flying into Bhutan, you're in the hands of some of the most skilled pilots in the world. And that's a wrap. So what do you think? Would you dare to land at any of these airports, or are you happy watching from a safe distance? Drop your comments below. Before you go, don't forget to check out my recent video, Extreme Aircraft Designs That Actually Took to the Skies. Keep flying high with us. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and be ready for more stories that defy the skies.